Let's call the meeting to order. Rebecca, will you please call the roll?
Gandy?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Are there any additions or changes to the agenda tonight, Council? If not, let's move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the March 28, 2022 council meeting. Approval of the April 1st, 2022 payroll in the amount of $133,077.99. Resolution authorizing funds transfers. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Acceptance of Park and Recreation Advisory Board minutes. Acceptance of the Ways and Means Committee minutes. Resolution approving the employment in the Park and Recreation Department. Consenting to park use permit for First Baptist Church. This is a noise exemption for April 17th, May 15th, June 19th, July 17th, August 21st, and September 28th of this year from, September 18th. I don't know why I said that. 9 a.m. to noon, right, on each of those days. Approval of liquor license for Walmart stores. And approval of total claims in the amount of $525,470.76. We had one claim for over $75,000, which is the $250,000 that we authorized to go to Jefferson County Kids. So if I would.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Okay, great, thanks. We have a motion by Gandy.
Second.
Second by Ham. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Okay, we have no other public forums or appearances tonight, so we'll move on to resolution action items and ordinances. The first action item, consideration of award proposed street improvements for Morgan Street, and Marcus is here from French Rent-A-Cur to address this.
Yes. So we opened up bids April 7th for the Morgan Street project. We received 2 bids. The lowest bid was with Hickey Contracting for the amount of $252,477.10. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have about the project or about the bids. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them. And if there's no questions, I would recommend awarding Hickey Contracting the project. It's just west of Chautauqua Park, about 2 blocks, and this project's from Burlington to Riggs.
I move that we accept the bid from Hickey Contracting Company for $252,477.10.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy. Who did the second?
Second.
Gandy? Okay. Is there any other questions? Discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Esti?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Okay, approved unanimously. Next action item is consideration of award of the 2022 sanitary sewer lining. Didn't come to my mind.
CIP.
Right,
Cured in place pipe.
thank you.
So this was a quote process, which is why you guys did not have a public hearing on it. The engineer's estimate was for $138,000. We received 2 bids, one from Municipal Pipe Tool of Hudson, Iowa at $133,997.00, and a second bid from Business Sewer of Wisconsin of $152,570.75. So this is for lining in various places throughout town with kind of a focus in the downtown. And that's installing a sleeve within the sanitary sewer to help with minor damages to the pipe and give it another 50 years, hopefully. So we would recommend awarding to Municipal Pipe Tool.
I move we approve the bid from Municipal, well, we have to award the bid, right?
Second.
I said approve. To Municipal Pipe.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of award of Highway 1 water project.
Okay, so the next two bid items or bid projects did not turn out as well as the first projects. So Jason, if you would open the Highway 1 action items. This was for replacing of the water main from Harrison Avenue to Adams Avenue, which is right there at the library. What I've written up here for you is that this is trenchless construction. We're doing that because it's along Highway 1 and would not have as much traffic control, a lot less yard disturbance. And so that decreases the number of bidders generally, but last year we still had 4 people bid it. This year we had 2 bids. We had 6 plan holders. One of the plan holders missed the deadlines. Another one had recently received a large bid elsewhere. And so we ended up with 2 bids submitted. We really think that all of the ARPA funds are just saturating the market with water and sewer projects. The pipelining had a much longer completion timeline than this, which may have also affected these prices. So since we only received 2 bids and they were well over my estimate, I did some research into surrounding projects. One of the things that I use as a rule of thumb is the price per foot of the entire project. And you've probably heard me say I've used $100 a linear foot a lot for water and sewer. Well, we're at 220 now. We looked, and this one actually bid at $237 a foot. We looked at individual items compared to other towns. We also looked at the material costs of certain items. And although the bids are high, they're not unreasonable to the point where we feel that they should be thrown out. One of the main reasons that we want to move forward with this project is in a few years, the DOT will be overlaying Highway 1 south, giving it a nice new surface, and we want to get the water main out from underneath the road before that project happens so that we're not digging up a brand new street. So this project really needs to move forward either this year or next year, regardless of what the bids are. Given the climate and material shortages, we feel like rebidding it would might not turn out any better. So we would recommend approval or award of the low bid to, well, let me read the bids. So the engineer's estimate was $300,000. The low bid was from Lawson Construction of Kirksville, Missouri, of $473,976.00. The other was from Myers Driveway of Keokuk, Iowa. They had several errors in their bid, but the total came to $619,000. So we would recommend awarding the project to Lawson Construction. I've worked with them before. They're a very good contractor. They will come and stay on site, which is a benefit of this project. As far as funding, Aaron, do you want to talk about the funding? Jason, if you go to the second page, or what we're requesting, I guess.
Well, it's an extra, I forgot off the top of my head, but it's an extra 100, what is it? $157,000. So there's a couple different options. We can certainly use cash on hand, unobligated reserve. We can also go and look, since this is a water project, it does fall into the ARPA category to where we could use some ARPA funds, which we still have unobligated ARPA funds of roughly $300,000. So I don't think we need to make a complete final decision on where we come up with those dollars, but I would like to talk to Ways and Means at some point to discuss, or the council in general, to discuss the use of ARPA funds or other for this project or other projects down the road.
So is this a request? Are you requesting the use of ARPA funds or not requesting the use of ARPA funds? I'm looking at the,
If the council would like to approve that right now, that would be fine.
Otherwise, we're requesting that Ways and Means consider it.
Yes.
Yeah, I would move that we approve the project with the balance to be paid unspecified at this time.
And move that to Ways and Means.
If the council decides to do that.
second, I'd second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move forward on this project, but not finalize funding.
The overage.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Okay, next action item, consideration of award of reconstruct T-hanger taxiway Phase 3 and hangar apron rehabilitation.
All right, so this project was also over the engineer's estimate, but by not as much. It was about 15% over the engineer's estimate, with most of the overage being in aggregate and excavation, so it's more than likely related to labor costs rather than materials. We received one bid from J&L Construction. The federal, I'm having trouble reading. The total bid was $698,806.50. So this is approximately $73,000 over the engineer's estimate. The airport, so this project is being funded 90-10, 90% federal, 10% local, and then another portion of it is 85% state and 15% local. We do have additional obligated funds or available funds on the federal and the state level in order to fill the gap. What accepting the higher bid price would entail is a local additional amount of $7,062.85, which we discussed that would be feasible within the budget. So we would recommend awarding to J&L Construction.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Gandy, second by Toohill. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Okay, next action item is consideration of a change order number 1 for the Aerobic digester number 1 replacement project.
This was a project that we bid twice, also due to very high costs. But it was awarded to WRH of Amana. The supply of the tanks is about 6 months out from when we bid it. So they are looking at arrival around the end of July, 1st of August. And they're requesting that we move the completion date to, or substantial completion date to August 31st and the final completion of September 15th. This still allows the project to get done within the window that USDA is requiring, which is a drop dead date of September 30th. There's not a lot of cleanup or I'll say odds and ends. A majority of the project is the structure, so I don't feel like it's going to extend out a long period of time that will cause us problems with USDA. So I would recommend approval of this.
All we're doing is changing the completion date, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I would
no
move-
change in cost.
Right. No, I would move approval.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melanie. Our next action item is consideration to authorize an application for the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA grant. This is related to putting solar on our rec center and our fire station. And Michael Moore has been working really hard on this and using his expertise to help the city, and we really appreciate it. And so take it away, Michael.
Thank you all first for having me here today. I've been a resident of this this beautiful town for some 50 years. And in the last 13 years, I've been working in the renewable energy business in about 13 states and 2 provinces in Canada. And I'm happy to say that 8 of those projects were right here in Iowa, powering over, I would say, about 250,000 homes now. This project is one that is not just an expense, it actually comes out with almost $1 million back to us within the 25-year period of the lifespan of this solar project. Do you all have this information in front of you by chance? Okay, good. So let me just read what this program's about. It's a USDA program. It's called the Rural Energy Pilot Program. It says, what does this program do? The Rural Energy Pilot Program offers grant assistance to rural energy community partnerships to develop renewable energy to help meet our nation's energy needs and combat climate change while prioritizing environmental justice, racial equity, and economic opportunity. Who may apply? As eligible applicants, communities like us, our partnerships established to provide community-scale renewable energy benefits and assistance to underserved rural communities. These partnerships can be comprised of nonprofit organizations, state organizations, federally recognized tribes, municipalities, and other public bodies. There are 3 categories that they have for community energy planning, capacity building, and technical assistance. It's 1. Community efficiency and weatherization is 2. And the 3rd one is installation and equipping of community-scale renewable energy technologies and systems. I initially looked at having a project that would be like solar projects like MIU, in fields. But what I found out that we have a very stingy energy provider, and they do not pay much for that energy that's generated from projects like that, like 2.5 cents a kilowatt. So, and I just found that out the end of last week. So I had to switch gears, and the opportunity that I saw that really makes the most sense and actually pays us back significantly is to put solar on what we thought we might do anyway, on the rec center, and also now on the new fire station building that we have planned and have financed for. So this USDA grant spreadsheet, if you have in front of you, you can see the solar costs for the rec center, and these were determined just last week. It's $533,930. The firehouse would be $200,000. Upping our insurance sum and some maintenance, total about $773,930. $619,000 and change is the 80%. $154,786 is our 20%. And then you can see below there how many kilowatts the size of the rec center could provide and how many kilowatt hours that will generate. What you do to figure out the hours is you figure out how many sunny days do you have a year. And the average for this area is 200 days. And then you figure out the cost per watt, which is how, these providers, like the 2 companies we have in town, usually make the offer based on the wattage price. And you can see the savings there for the amount of energy that it's creating is about $25,000. And that's annually. And you look to the right, that comes over 25 years to be $617,000 change. That's the rec center, and the fire station size is 83 kilowatts, and this was determined based on the plans that we already have. There's one section of that that is can support the solar panels. Production on that, you can see, is 96, almost 97,000 kilowatt hours. Installation cost is 178, 215. The wattage price is a little higher, and the savings there per year is about $15,000 and 374 over time. So altogether, if you look at the bottom, there's almost a $40,000 savings per year. The investment from our side is $154,786, and we're expecting about a 4-year payback on that investment. So, open to questions.
On the fire station, Melanie, are we building it in preparation, right, of solar panels to hold the load?
When is the building estimated for completion?
2 years.
By 2 years today, or about? Okay, good.
Ish.
Okay. This allows you up to 3 years, so that's why I want to get the timing.
I think we need to check on the structure of the rec center, but we could certainly look at making a covered parking lot with solar panels or something like that. But I think with a 4-year payback on that, I think it's well worth applying for the grant and then seeing what could happen.
I think
as far as
Ideal
structure
Energy
and
did
stuff like that.
qualify it.
Well, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
In regard to the rec center,
Yeah.
toward the end of that project, there was a change order requested of council to put in an additional structural support for the roof of that building for the purpose of holding solar panels at some point in the future. So we put an extra $40,000 into the building at that time.
Thank you, Doug.
So it better be sufficient to hold
Yeah,
panels.
that's what I've been told, so
That's what we
thanks for
paid for.
verifying it. I know it's a lot of money to conceive of, but not only do we have this payback, but it's just another win for our community. We'll be 80% renewable for the city's properties. So that's nothing just to scoff at. I don't know any other city that has that.
It reads here, the main goal is to generate enough renewable energy to offset all of the city's current electric power.
Ultimately, yes.
Over what
For
period
this
of time?
project, it won't be, the complete amount.
Is there a time frame for when that's possible?
That's the next project.
We don't know. We don't have enough space at this point to put enough solar panels up. We haven't checked in on putting solar panels on the city hall. We've looked at it on the old fire station, but I don't remember what the reason was we didn't do that the last time.
It wasn't cost effective.
Okay.
But right now, we're talking about 80%? Is that right?
It will reach, yeah, including the library.
And the library's had 2 different phases of solar panel additions, so, and the airport has solar panels also. We couldn't put, the way they recommended for the water treatment plant, that wasn't a very good option, drilling down into the dikes for the storage lagoons, and then the sewer plant, I don't remember what happened with that one either, but
There was a plan on the books at some point about using some field space to put up a field-based
Right.
array. It never materialized, though.
we could certainly look in that one too at some point. But I think with the grant opportunity here, I think going down the road for the rec center and the fire station right now would be a good opportunity.
But is this a competitive grant?
Which
Yes.
part?
Is this a competitive grant?
Yeah, it will be. We'll pray to God that we could get this, but there's $10 million in this fund. And this is a nationwide project, nationwide offer.
If the city were to move in this direction and get this funding, how long would it be before we were able to generate 80% of the city's?
Well, it really depends upon the fire station.
Okay.
And when that's completed. So we probably should say there's a 3-year time period that it'll take. It won't take that long for the rec center, but
So where is the $154,000 coming from for the Fairfield commitment?
if you look at each of the 2 projects, you'll see the install cost. and then you take 20% of that, you'll get the figure of our commitment.
Yeah, I'm asking where the money's coming from.
Oh, where the money's coming
Out of the
from.
budget.
That's something we
Oh.
need to talk about.
Yeah.
That'll be another commitment down the road.
We need to talk about where we're gonna take that. Now, with a four-year payback, I mean, we've got a lot of different options. I think fiscally, we can handle that internally with an internal loan from somewhere. Or,
Okay.
but I don't think it's a real big stretch to go down this road with the funds that we have built up in the city's coffers to do something like this.
So I have another question to add into that. What are we looking down the road if some of these panels have to be replaced and there's costs of disposal for the panels? Where are we factoring that in for that cost?
What we would do with that is as you can see, with a payback of 4 years, most panels have a 20 to 25 year lifespan. So essentially, those costs of replacement and disposal of panels would be paid for through that. We would have to create a fund, but you could essentially use that, the funds that it creates, not only to create a fund to take care of the upkeep for the future, but you can also take care of some cost
And
reduction or
disposal.
tax reduction that route also.
But
Out of the
right now,
4,000.
I think you could really do a pretty good job both directions with the funds that are, once it's paid off, you have 21 years-ish, if maybe even a little bit more to work on that, and those are good.
well, disposal is a problem because I think there's only 1 or 2 sites in
Right.
Iowa that take panels
Right.
when they're expired. But
That's what-
hopefully,
That's why I wanted to
change.
know what we were planning on doing. because-
So the total project is $773,000. After we pay back our investment, if we get the grant, we would essentially receive $840,000 over the life of those panels. So we could completely replace those panels plus have a little bit of funds available
from cost savings, you're
from
talking
cost savings, yeah.
Also, the first 7 years, we have a warranty on it all. So there won't be any impact to those, at least those first 7 years. And that's built into this fund,
Yep.
this
So-
bid.
Presumably, we could set up a sinking fund with did the library do that with their cost savings on electricity?
No, we just paid for that out of the,
So presumably, we could set up a sinking fund to put the cost savings into?
correct. We could figure that out.
I had library figures, let me see if I have them with me. But that's about a 20,
Don't ask me the number
Yeah.
on that.
I believe that's about 20 kilowatts. 20,000. So that's where I get the 80. This is a 60 plus the 20 from the library.
I would move approval to submit the application.
Great, thank you.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Toohill. Any other discussion?
I'm curious, Michael, your opening in your presentation mentions that the campus is already with its solar array providing 43% of its power. Is that the array that we see out in the field that takes up acres?
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to envision that many solar panels, even on large buildings,
Right.
as equivalent to that. Am I thinking right as far as the
Well,
same type of
actually,
panels?
you can be a lot more efficient on buildings than in fields. It doesn't take near the space.
Okay.
So it's a lot less complicated.
Because they're not spread out as much.
All right.
It's more concentrated on a rooftop.
More concentrated, plus the new panels coming out is what we're going to be using. They're extended. They're going to be about twice the size and height.
People in town have calculated how much roof space there is in Fairfield, but the problem is many of those roofs probably can't support the weight of those panels. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it's mostly because the orientation and the trees, just don't make it viable. Also, Alliant made it pretty difficult when they had that plan and they, you could have them come to your house and figure out if it was viable or not. We got shortchanged. They said, "Oh, you've got that tree in the back." I said, "Yeah, we'll remove that tree." "Well, it's not removed now, so you don't qualify." Like,
So who controls the rebate amount when you give energy back to the Alliant Energy? Who controls that figure?
that's a contract we already have. We'll use with the library. That money goes
Is that in the contract?
It has to be in the meter. It's not a contract. It's how much. Well, actually, it's a
Essentially,
figure
the
that. What's the figure that they use, Doug? I'm Aaron.
So why don't they pay us 1 instead of 1 and 2.5?
if you could get them to negotiate, that would be one thing, but I think one of the things, which is why we went away from the large solar array, was essentially they said, this is the way it is, this is what we're sticking with.
Well,
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
the legislature controls how much money you get back on a return to can. Why can't they control the amount of money you get back on a return kilowatt?
Well, then we could, I mean, that would be something we'd have to talk to the legislature about, and the,
We'd have to go through the utilities.
yeah, utilities.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
well, I think that's just, we're hamstrung by the company that we're stuck with.
Yeah. These figures are based on what Ideal Energy told me is the payback on people's rooftop solar projects and the commercial ones as well. And in the future, we might partner up with one of these industrial complexes and, help power their facility at the same time. So there are a lot of options that we have in the future. But this is one, I've got to have this submitted by next week, next Monday. We'll give it a whirl, and I'm going to have this reviewed by a couple folks here, and I've gone through this before in the city here. Make sure that we've got it down.
Is there a time restriction from when we apply to this and when we have to have it up on the fire station?
3 years.
Is it?
No,
3
as
years
long as
window?
you estimate and you're pretty close to your estimation, they'll check in every 3 months or something, how the project's going. You have to write up a report.
Okay.
Well, thanks for doing this.
Yes.
Welcome.
Call the vote.
Do we have, yes, yeah, do we have a motion on the floor? Yeah, okay, so go ahead.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you, Michael, for all your time and bringing this to us and making it happen.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, next is a public hearing on our fiscal year '23 budget. So I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody that wants to speak on that? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And take the resolution, consideration of the fiscal year '23 budget. Aaron, you want to just review again why we have this on again one more time? To let people know.
We had a publishing issue when we first did this. Fortunately, it wasn't necessarily our mistake, but it just requires us to republish and go back through the process of approving our budget. We were approved an extension by the Department of Management. They were quite understanding of the issue, so they were quite happy to give us an extension to get this taken care of. So that's why we're reapproving our budget.
Didn't the levy drop by a penny or something?
Yes. We actually, Shannon at the auditor's office found a mistake that we had made, and it gave us reduced it by a penny.
Move to approve resolution?
Moved by Gandy.
Did you close the public hearing?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Moved by Gandy.
Second.
Second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Next is a resolution, consideration of tax abatement application for 2805 Burlington Avenue. This is Cranston Family Funeral Home. They are building a new funeral home out there.
I move we approve the tax abatement application for 2805 Burlington Avenue.
Okay, moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Ham. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Next resolution is consideration of tax abatement application for 111 East Burlington Avenue, owned by Drish Holdings LLC.
I move approval of the tax abatement for 111 East Burlington Avenue.
Okay, moved by Flournoy,
Second?
second by Ham. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
So the next two items have to do, two resolutions, and we'll vote on them separately, but Aaron can explain them together. But consideration of revenue purpose statement from electric fees and consideration of revenue purpose statement from natural gas franchise fees.
Yeah, this is the discussion regarding a franchise fee. Effectively, it does not affect anybody in the city because they're already paying a 1% local option sales tax, but it replaces that 1% sales tax and puts those revenues into a franchise fee so that all the gas and electric fees that are, all those fees that are paid for in the city of Fairfield are then collected by the city of Fairfield.
So this is the resolution changing the loss to a franchise fee, and
Correct.
we had talked about.
Well, this is just the purpose statement, which is the first step in the whole process.
Okay.
The next step is we have to set a public hearing for the next meeting, and then we'll have the ordinance to look at for the first reading at the next meeting.
When do those contracts roll over? Do you know offhand?
I don't know offhand, but this will change those contracts to a 25-year contract.
Because they're not that long now.
No, well, it's still a 25-year contract with a 5-year
Extension.
Review.
Every 5 years. you can
5-year review. That will
Review,
change.
you can, every 5 years, but, so we're starting at 0 if we,
Yeah, we'd be starting at year 1.
okay.
And just so you know, Aaron told me that he brought this up when he was being interviewed.
Yeah, I did.
And so this has been on his plate for, how long you been here? 3 years? 4 years?
4.5, almost 5.
Almost 5, okay. Yeah, so
I'm getting gray hair like Lee.
anyway,
But I
so
like your shirt.
this is something that Aaron suggested several years ago, and
So what is the benefit other than what the lost system was doing?
It actually creates another $100,000 of revenue for the city.
Right now, the lost funds have to be distributed out to the various municipalities. But if it's franchise fee, we don't have to do that redistribution. So it doesn't get distributed.
So it gives us essentially another $100,000 that we can use to, without raising taxes on anybody, that we can use to purchase equipment. Essentially, it's the exact same verbiage as the local option sales tax spending authority, but it just gives us more. It creates a little bit more revenue for us to purchase more equipment.
This has more criteria as far as the imposition. The local option sales tax doesn't have the purpose statements connected, but we have to say some purpose for having a franchise fee. There's 8 or 9 of them here. They're all legitimate under case law, and we can't have it be a penalty, and we can't have it look like we're getting some kind of premium or kickback. So
Correct.
all of those things are encompassed in this purpose statement.
But the lost funds their use was approved by referendum, wasn't it?
Correct.
Right.
And essentially, we said it was going to be for tax relief or
Community improvement.
streets or community betterment, yes. So
Yeah.
essentially, the revenue statement that we have there is very similar to that. It's more focused towards equipment and street projects and stuff like that, but very similar to what we're doing already.
We're only ending the lost imposition as far as these 2 utilities.
Correct.
We're not doing it on anything else we get lost tax from.
So I'd move approval of the resolution, consideration of revenue purpose statement for the electric fees.
okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Can I ask one more question?
I've
Yes.
got questions
No,
too.
yeah. So let's go to questions now.
You said the 100,000. That is for both of them combined.
Yes.
Yes.
So, yes.
All right. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, it's not both. And again, it's a 1% sales tax, but we're replacing that with a 1% franchise fee. So there is no raise in taxes.
No.
It's the same thing.
No, but the money generated is the two of them, not
Correct.
just that, right, okay.
Correct.
And then Doug distinguished the lost as being subject to referendum, and this is just subject to public hearing?
Resolution and ordinance.
Okay.
And public hearing, yes.
Okay. As opposed to referendum.
Correct.
Great.
Okay, no other questions? Please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes?
Esti.
Yes.
Okay, now let's consider the revenue purpose statement for the natural gas franchise fees.
I move approval of the resolution considering revenue purpose statement for electric fees, or
Second.
gas fees.
Natural.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Okay. Moved by Flournoy, second by Toohill. Any other questions? Now please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes?
Esti.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Not that it makes a difference, Paul actually seconded that.
No.
That wasn't-
Oh, I'm
so,
sorry.
That's okay. I just,
Trying to give you credit.
I wasn't fast enough.
Guess you guys are starting to sound alike, maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, so the next two action items would be to set public hearings for each of these. So the first consideration to set public hearing for the first reading of electric franchise ordinance would be Monday, March 25th at 7 p.m.
I move we set a public hearing for the first reading of the electric franchise ordinance for Monday, April 25th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Gandy. Any other questions? Now, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes?
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Okay, and then the second, to set a public hearing for the first reading of natural gas franchise ordinance, and again, that would be Monday, April 25th,
Move to
7 p.m.
approve resolution.
Yeah, move.
Move to approve action item, sorry.
Yeah.
Setting
Moved
public
by,
hearing.
moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Any other questions? Guys are gonna have to jump in there fast.
Good.
Please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you. The next action item is consideration of Rsvp memorandum of understanding. Basically, what this is that John Miller, many of you know John Miller, and he's part of the Rsvp program in our area, and he's been coming to the volunteer center meetings, and this is a MOU so that as any of his volunteers come over and help within a city project or through the volunteer center, that there's some basic understanding between the two organizations. I had John look at this. John, do you have any comments?
I didn't have any problems with it, but I'm trying to remember what I did. I was going to bring notes along tonight, and I didn't. I apologize.
I'm also confused because the location is the library, but then it says down here they'll be working outdoors, and so a lot of the safety and signage requirements don't pertain.
Yeah, so we put the library there because that's where the volunteer center
Yeah.
meets people. That's kind of our public face right there, 3 times a week. But most of these projects are outdoor projects. So that's why John had referenced, outdoor projects, because primarily many of them will be.
So what kind of projects do they do?
Well, they might be doing gardening. They might be helping with the gardening grant.
Cleanup projects.
Cleanup projects. We've looked at
Trails projects.
trails. We've looked at Partners for Play. Trying to think of the other things that were kind of top of mind right now. I know they're trying to find volunteers for the museum. Now, that would not necessarily be an indoor project, but we don't know if any of our SVP
Yeah.
volunteers would come for that kind of thing. So
RSVP was out of the convention center for a while, wasn't it?
I don't know.
How do they find
I think it-
volunteers? Like,
I
who are the
think-
people that are volunteering?
The volunteer center or RSVP?
The RSVP.
Well, John goes to, he's there a lot at the farmer's market. He sets up a stand.
Just retired people?
Yes. And
It's listed on our website.
it's listed on our website. And John gets around. He's got a lot of volunteers that have gone, that he's signed up and works on different projects.
So there's no overhead for the city, we're just going to provide the library, center, and
Yeah, really, that's kind of where there's an address, if you will, for the volunteer center. That's why we put that there.
so I don't move we approve the memorandum of understanding with the Rsvp of Atomo? Or, no, they list our 3 counties, don't they?
Yes.
Okay. Rsvp.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes?
Great, thank you very much. So under the mayor's report, I've got several things here. I received a proclamation to be read. This is regarding April being the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every community member of Fairfield, and whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our community, and statistics show 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives, and whereas child sex abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before the age of 18, and whereas young people experience heightened rates of sexual violence and youth ages 12 to 17 are 2.5 times as likely to be victims of rape or sexual assault, and whereas on campus 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men will be sexually assaulted during their time in college, and whereas we must work together to educate our community about sexual violence prevention, supporting survivors, and speaking out against harmful attitudes and actions. And whereas Crisis Intervention Services always has trained advocates available to providing services to survivors of sexual violence and their loved ones in Fairfield and surrounding areas. And whereas with leadership and dedication, we can be successful in preventing sexual violence in Fairfield by increasing education, awareness, and community involvement. And whereas Fairfield strongly supports the efforts of national, state, and local partners and of every citizen to actively engage in public and private affairs to prevent sexual violence, it's time for all of us to take appropriate action and support one another to create a safer environment for all. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Connie Boyer, join advocates and communities across the country in playing an active role to prevent sexual violence. Along with the United States government and the state of Iowa, I do hereby proclaim April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Statistics are kind of sobering. I wanted to give you, just so you are aware, for the calendar year of 2021, our zoning permits, so that you could see a growth of potential valuations. It's almost $4.5 million. The 2 big things here are commercial property at $1.7 million and multifamily units of a little over $1.6 million. Single families are $630,000. And so I wanted to share that with you. This comes through Dawn's, office. She does that. Yep.
How much of that $4.5 million is taxable on property taxes? Not all of it, right? But most of it?
No, it's,
Be all.
well, it depends on where it's at, depends on, a lot of the housing and a lot of the commercial stuff are actually in TIF districts at this point, so it's actually TIF revenue that's paying for projects or paying for developers agreements or something to that effect, whereas the majority of the residential stuff, I think, were more fences and sheds and stuff like that. So yes, there are some housing and stuff, but I would say we need to really focus on housing going forward because we haven't created as many single family homes.
Yeah.
There are some, but I think, $630,000 would be a couple houses if it were just
I would say
houses.
there's probably 3 houses here built. 210, 170, 175.
Yeah.
So,
So overall, like I said, we really need to here in the future, and Josh and I've already had a conversation about housing. We need to do a study here fairly quickly. I'm looking at how we can fund a housing study and then start working on some way to promote single-family housing.
We had a housing study about 6 or 8 years ago, didn't we?
Correct, and we have to do a new, you got it, those aren't, I guess there's a lifespan for them, so you need to redo them every so often, and we need to redo ours now.
Particularly for grant opportunities, you got to have
Yeah.
updated information. So next on, I just wanted to report on the Heartlight and Greenway pipeline project. You've probably read about this in the paper. There has been, I think, at least one public meeting here. Their representative, Mr. Ryan Keller, came to visit me to talk about the project, and so I just thought I'd share what we talked about and the information that he gave me. He showed me a map, and this is, the pipeline is proposed to go on the other side, west of Libertyville, so in the southwest corner of the county. It's to take off CO2 from fertilizer and ethanol plants, and then pipe that to Illinois and pipe it down into the ground. He said there would be approximately 460,000 extra taxes per year for the county if this pipeline goes through. 149 new jobs in the area, at least temporarily. That would be 1 to 2 months in the area. There would be approximately 10 construction crews throughout Iowa. Land easements would be approximately $10 million, new money in the county. This well that and proposed pipeline should last about 30 years. Navigator, which is the company that's putting this together, actually would work with any fire departments in our county, first responders, the sheriff and police, to train them on emergency response if there were ever an emergency. It's approximately still 2 years before groundbreaking. Navigator's not the only one that's trying to put these pipelines together. Apparently there's at least one other company.
Northern part of the state.
Pardon me?
I thought there was one going across the northern part of the state.
Yeah, there might be. And so basically I just wanted to share that information so that if anybody started getting questions, we can certainly call Ryan and he can get representatives down here to answer any questions. So again, just so you're aware of that information. We did have an emergency management meeting since our last meeting. We approved a budget amendment, and we will be doing another budget amendment, and that's related to our sirens here in town that are going to cost about another approximately $17,000.
That's throughout the county, though. Our sirens don't need anything right now.
That's correct.
I thought we had a couple that weren't working.
They've
Ours
been
are
fixed.
all working.
And they were related to batteries, and so those batteries have gotten replaced. Yes, you're right. So it's Packwood, Lockridge, and Batavia that they need new systems, and we have approved to buy refurbished systems, approximately $7,000 each. Well, they refurbished was $17,540, so not clear up to that $21,000.
Who was present at the meeting?
Oh, who was present at the meeting?
You.
I was there, yeah. I would say almost all the cities. I don't think Pleasant Plain was represented.
Neither was Vedic City.
And neither was Vedic City. I don't think Lockridge was present at this last meeting, but all the other cities were. So,
Are they putting an outdoor siren in Vedic City?
well, they don't have one. I was going to talk to Rogers Badgett about that, actually, and I need to talk to Leslie Goldstein because we had a test here. It was right after, so it would have been probably a week ago, and we were going to see if they could hear it out in Vedic City. So that's something that needs to be discussed with Vedic City to see if they want to put one up. And apparently Daryl checks our sirens and usually lets EMA know if they're not working and such, and he's still doing that. So that happened.
We have to work a little bit better on our communication there, but we've already talked about that to make sure we get that done and make sure that everything's
Yeah.
equipment replacement process.
I think they,
You lost me there. What are you talking about?
Daryl checks them on a quarterly basis. So what he and I talked about is we need to make sure that we're doing that and then making sure that we're communicating with EMA to make sure that if there's anything that's needed, that we make sure we're communicating that, make sure we're documenting. Those batteries only have a shelf life of 5 to 7 years, so we should be documenting how long we just replaced them all this year. So we need to make sure that here in 5 years, we get them replaced again.
yeah. We are going to, at our next meeting, again, we're going to meet next month, or I guess it's this month now, and we'll be adjusting the budget for these new sirens, but also we're going to relook at our coming fiscal year budget and relook at, the funding for that and such. So I'll probably be reporting at some point here again about EMA.
Well, I'm curious, how many municipalities voted in favor of increasing the levy that they asked us to increase?
The per capita. The 3 that voted against it, I think, were us, Batavia, and I'm going to guess Pleasant Plain.
And I don't know what Rating City did.
Correct.
Nobody knows what Rating City did.
So
I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean that he was terribly hard to hear on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So I think we'll have a better discussion this next time around. I do. So I'm looking forward to that.
Did the committee get our letter?
they did.
Or did the committee members get our letter?
Well, I should say Bart received it, and that's all the further it went.
But I communicated to the board what you had voted on, what this council had voted on.
Right.
So, and
I just think it was important for us to communicate to the members how we felt.
yeah, and I hopefully I communicated that. So I know the actual letter did not get passed around. So. Emergency management. Okay, hang on just a minute. Got my whole list of things here. Oh, I just wanted to recognize that, and you again probably saw this in the paper, but Habitat received $50,000 from T-Mobile for 3 foundations. I mean, ultimately, it could pay for 3 foundations for Habitat for Humanity. So I think that was a big win for Fairfield. Happy to see that. And also, I meant to do this last time, but I wanted to do a city shout out to Matt Stutzman for winning the 2022 World Archery Para Championship in Dubai this year. That's pretty exciting that he did that, made Fairfield proud. Last thing is a reminder, our work session on April 23rd. I would like to adjust the time a little bit from 8:30 to 11:30, it'd be just 3 hours. And if you've got anything on your agenda that you'd like discussed, you're out.
23rd.
Okay. So,
Sorry, I missed
We'll
the
give you a
date.
pass.
the 23rd, April 23rd.
Burlington, that's not Roserside, but I'm in the
And
meeting.
8:30 to 11:30, we're going to have some communication skills training. We're going to talk about a couple other things that Aaron and I have put together. And but if you have something that you'd like on the agenda, please let us know. John's going to talk about Facebook policy, et cetera. So we'll have that on there too. And that is all, finally. City, John, do you have anything tonight?
I got a couple things I try not to take long with. The front office has got several utility delinquencies. We're going to try to figure out a way to uniformly handle those. I think most of them will end up being certified as to amount and then assessed against real estate taxes, but there's some of them that are relatively large right now. There's a second thing going on, and that is that there's several nuisances that I would call stale right now. And the problem there is there's half a dozen folks that have deceased. There isn't a whole lot you can do about that, except there are estates open, and I believe 4 of them. members of the family or executors have shown up at some time and said they're going to get after this. Now they're getting to a point where we're probably going to have to file either claims in the estates or sue them in the magistrate court to make them do what they said they were going to do. Or we can take it through the normal nuisance process and have the court appoint somebody to stand in for the owner. Like I say, there's about a half a dozen of those that are just long-term bad sites. If I mention 2 or 3 of the names, you'd recognize there are multiple problems with nuisances over the years. The third thing, in the last couple weeks, we had a couple realtors, 8 or 9 phone calls, all concerned about the same thing, and that was where we are on a R1 residential policy that we have. It's an ordinance that in our zoning code doesn't allow for what I would describe either as a guest house on a larger piece of property, a grandparent's home or cottage, or a mother-in-law's villa. And those things, they show various places in a treatise on zoning as things that can fit within a strictly high-use residential district, which is what our R1 classification does. Usually they're the subject of either a special exception that the Board of Adjustment could grant, or some kind of conditional use or permitted use with a bunch of criteria that you have to meet. And what Dawn and I have been talking about, and we'll probably have Melanie meet and then bring you something back, probably property committee and maybe environmental, with the idea that we're probably looking for ways to allow this to happen on some of the bigger properties that are actually built with some of these in it. I can think of, I'm just going to call it the old Kaplan estate up on North B Street that has a villa guest house built right on the premises, and there isn't any reason that would violate our zoning, I don't think. But the accessory or auxiliary building use that is intended to be avoided is more of a half a dozen places I could point out to you around town where there is basically a structure the size of a garage, or maybe it was a garage, that has been turned into a couple of rooms and somebody's collecting rent for it. And I mean, this has gotten to the extreme. A couple times we shut somebody down who basically put a porta potty in the upstairs of a, I'd call it a livery barn, or what used to be a carriage house, but was never plumbed as a residence, was never wired as a residence, was never intended to be a residence, but somebody saw a way to get some rent. And those kinds of things, I think we have to probably be pretty clear that the criteria by which we would consider something suitable are better than our habitability standard for rental properties in town. And because it's a highest use residential district, that we make sure that we don't make it too easy to have this kind of a place. But I know it gets talked over every year or two about what are we doing about that. We need more housing, and sometimes there is a family member that would live here in town with somebody that's got the resources to have that kind of an accessory building on their property. But for the most part around town, I mean, it's right now, it's something that's not possible only in R1 districts. It's possible in the rest of the different zones around town, but the rest of the different zones around town are where it's less likely practically to happen because the lot dimensions are smaller, the land area that's available is less, and we don't run into it as often, except for the examples that I mentioned about things that are not necessarily habitable or suitable. So we'll bring you back something after we have our conversations, and we probably will continue to get some calls from realtors and some other folks in town that don't see why we can't bend on this. The problem is if we bend on the best locations and the things that make the most sense, we're going to have to be aware that we have to include in a consideration of anything else that is lowest common denominator under the same wording in the ordinance. So we'll try to bring you something for discussion that makes sense, and then this will have to go, if we think that's a good idea, it'll have to go through planning and zoning and back out to you guys later on. But
So John, my understanding is we do have one individual that, you know, it's not an accessory building, it's a little apartment has been built and attached onto that house. The appropriate action would be for them to apply to the Board of Adjustment
Right.
to move forward, correct?
Right, and we've done that a few times. The Board of Adjustment has actually approved something, but they've also turned some down
Okay.
for exactly the reasons I was describing.
Yeah.
So,
I'd just like to just say, hey, if you're in R1, you can't be subdividing your house for another apartment in there for rental. So
yeah.
just don't do it. Stay out of trouble, right? Okay. You all done, John?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Committee and board reports, do we have anything?
The Planning and Zoning Commission minutes are there for informational. Planning and Zoning met last week. The letters and conditions of the wastewater treatment plant step 3 are pretty standard for when we're doing a loan with USDA. It's just the steps that we have to follow through to get the money from USDA. I don't think there's really anything out of the ordinary there to highlight. Last thing is I did go present to the Board of Supervisors today about the costs and disparities of the dispatch center. It went okay. We need to do some work to request information regarding their. They would like to know exactly what information we want regarding their proposal of them taking over the dispatch center that they were supposed to give us more information from the last 2080 meeting that we had. So Doug and Paul, you and I can talk about it, and we'll put something together in writing and send that to them for more information.
Well, we discussed this in February in detail, and I made notes, but I asked Darren to send it to me in writing back then, and I never received anything.
Yeah, this has been going on a long time.
I mean, they know what we wanted.
I
did at one point, they did.
Yeah.
Well, today they felt like they've already verbally said it, and so they're unclear as to
Yeah, they
what
said verbally,
information we
that's why I
want.
asked.
But Aaron asked, we wanted it in writing.
That's what I told Darren last
Yeah.
February. I'd like to have it in writing.
Since our last meeting, I had a meeting with the county attorney. We talked about what our understandings were that we talked about in our session, the last 2 meetings at the end of the meeting, and he said that he would try to make sure that there were specific answers to the things that we thought we had understood before we got into the big dollar question. And did any of those get answered by the board today?
I would say no.
Yeah. I did ask the question that we asked Dee to ask the supervisors if it had been brought up, if they would consider giving us a payment for services because of the disparity. I did not use the word tax relief because they were playing games with that term in the letter. Darren said, no, we have not brought that up in a supervisors meeting. So I think I'm going to leave it at that.
I'll just say that I think their position is,
Hasn't changed.
their position hasn't changed. They would consider taking over the employees and dealing with it that way. So, in my view, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree for now.
Right.
But anyway, so
That's it.
that's it, okay. I just remembered one other thing, that I did get a call from a his name is Dustin Blith, he works for AT&T. AT&T last summer had proposed a new cell tower on the southwest part of town. And they have laid the foundation for that cell tower. We don't know how soon that tower will be constructed, but probably sooner than later. Like I say, the foundation is in. Dustin was disappointed that he had requested that he know 30 days ahead so he could notify me and the supervisors, and, you know, because we have some citizens very concerned about this. And we went through many conversations about different locations for that tower. And at any rate, it will be constructed. It's not in city limits, so it's in the county technically, but it's just over the line from our city limit. And of course, there's no building codes in the county, so you know, they will let it stand, and so it will be constructed.
Where's it at exactly, you know?
Yes,
Just off of South,
7th Street.
yes.
17th?
7th. Is it 7th or 9th? That
No.
was 7th Street.
It's,
If you go, you know where the school, well, you know where the, yeah, you know where the school is, the school administrative buildings?
Yes.
It's just east of there. The last street for Fairfield,
Right.
east of the school district buildings,
Okay.
it's just across the street. It's just south of our last street.
that goes south
It's
of.
between 20th and South 15th Street.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
There you
different
go.
location then.
It's Rich, is it Richie Voigt's land, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you go down there, if you're heading west, actually, on that last street, I think there might be a trailer on the left side. There's a little driveway through there, and then there's a building back there, and then there's also a security light. So it's near that security light.
Right.
So, okay, that's all I have. So I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill.
Second.
Second by Gandy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Meeting adjourned.
All right.